some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the day.
This is a public service announcement. Fellas, ladies, make sure you get home before the street lights come on. Now I'm getting ready to wrap up, but before I do, this is a message for everyone, and I'm going to talk about dreamer, the dreamers in us, because at the beginning of this, I mentioned the dreamers, mentioned nostalgia, talked about how we used to dream. And I'm not eloquent at that, but Dave Chappelle, he did an excellent story on dreamers. And I'm going to play that. And it's not as in an entirety. I can't put it on the screen because I don't want them to take down my stream, but you're going to hear the audio of David Chappelle telling the story about being a dreamer. Okay. So I want you guys to listen to this, and then I'm going to wrap it up, okay?
Okay. Before I did Killing Them Softly, when I was 22, HBO gave me the biggest opportunity of my life at that time. They gave me a half-hour special, but this shit was not like a special, you know what I mean? It was like, it was generic. It didn't even have a title. It was just Dave Chappelle. And I shot it in San Francisco at a place called Broadway Studios, which is on the second floor of a building. And beneath Broadway Studios is a nightclub. And the special was only supposed to be 30 minutes. And I got ready, I practiced, I did all the shit I was supposed to do. And the night that I taped, 20 minutes into my 30-minute set, I'll never forget this, music started blasting from the nightclub underneath. You could hear it real loud, and it fucked my whole show up, and I was devastated. I was a young man. I really believed in what I was doing, and I thought that my dream had been killed. So when I got off stage, I ran down the steps to the alley behind Broadway Studios, and where the control trucks are parked, and I kicked that motherfucking door open, and I started yelling at all the producers. I was nobody in show business, just a guy that believed in us. I said, man, you fucked everything up. That fucking music, what the fuck were you thinking? And there was a guy who was a big time producer, I ain't saying no names, and he stood up and he said, hey kid, sit the fuck down. He said, we didn't ruin anything. He said, we made a deal with that nightclub to not play music, and they didn't honor the deal. And I said, who didn't honor the deal? And he pointed to a guy. I'll never forget it. It was an old white man sitting in the Ford Taurus by himself. And he said, that guy right there. And I didn't waste no time or ask no questions. I went to that Ford Taurus and I beat on that window and I said, open the door, motherfucker, I want to talk to you. And that old man looked at me for 1 second and wisely drove the fuck off. And left me in the alley cussing at anybody who would listen. And 2 minutes later, literally 120 seconds later, couldn't have been any more than that, the doors of the kitchen in the alley of that nightclub underneath Broadway Studios flung open. And that old man was standing there, that same old man with reinforcements. He had 2 big goons with him, and he looked at me, and he was calm as a cucumber. He said, you, come here. I want to talk to you. I didn't know anything about the streets at this age. But I found out later in my life that these men were Russian mobsters. And I don't know what you guys know about the Russian mob, but these are the niggas that killed Denzel in Training Day. And all the producers knew what I was up against. They said, Dave, do not go in there. And I said, fuck y'all. And I walked right into that kitchen, and they closed the doors behind me, and it got dark as fuck in there. And I knew, I'm not dumb, I knew I was in a bad situation. But you have to understand, I believed in what I was doing, and I didn't give a fuck. Just kept cussing at these motherfuckers, telling them how they ruined my life. And that old man couldn't believe that I was talking all this shit. And as soon as I took a breath, he stopped me gently. He said, hey, kid, listen. Your friends lied to you. He said, we made a deal, but your friends never paid me. And when he said that, I realized I was locked in the kitchen. I realized he was telling the truth, which would make me wrong. And the very moment that I realized I was wrong, for the first time, I was afraid. You see, it's a funny thing if you believe you're absolutely right. You can get drunk off the feeling of how right you are. That's why gay people are so mean. But I didn't buckle. You guys would have been very proud of me. I was scared, but I didn't buckle. I said, well then, sir, I owe you an apology. But I believe that no matter what reason that music was playing, it ruined my life. And that old man looked at me with sympathy in his eyes. And he walked over to me and he gently placed his hand on my cheek, which I gotta tell you, is a very emasculating thing to do. I was standing there looking at this nigga's hand on my cheek like, and he said, you are a real man. And he tapped me on my cheek. Real soft. Just like that. The doors opened back up. The light from the alley flooded into the kitchen. And I just walked out alive. I lived to fight another day. And in that moment, I learned one of the most valuable lessons of my life, and I have to share it with you. And that lesson is this. In your life, in any given moment, the strongest dream in that moment wins that moment. I am a very powerful dreamer. Yeah, I'm not lying.
The strongest dream wins the day. Black people, we are powerful dreamers. Just the things that we overcome, how we create, especially our men, how you are the original magician, how you are able to create a legacy, a dynasty out of thin air. Listen, as I conclude, listen. We are not Black people. We are not defined by our limitations or stereotypes, you know? Our value is not diminished by external opinions or the shallow parameters that our women or society use to gauge our worth. We are more than caricatures drawn of us. We are fathers. We are sons. We are brothers. We are husbands. And we are friends. Some of us are CEOs. Some of us are janitors. We got doctors. We have teachers. We have artists. We have military. We have garbage men. We got post office men, HVAC men, accountants, engineers, scientists, mechanics, plumbers, even bus drivers. Fuck you, Ebony K. Williams. The majority of Black men are productive, character-driven men. I want to say that one more time for every man listening. And I know it doesn't seem like it because how the machine and how our women talk about us, how they treat us, how they look at us. how they respond to us. Let me be very clear. The majority of us are productive, character-driven men, men of integrity, men of accountability, men of concern, men of protection. We're not Jesus, though. We are not without flaw. We are not imperfect. We don't always get it right. We will hurt somebody's feelings. We will disappoint. We will make a mistake. We will do things in error. We will miscalculate. We will misjudge. But because we are men of integrity, men of accountability, men of concern, men of protection, we will do what we can to right the wrong. We cook meals. We clean cars. Yes, we are attempting to rebuild our families and our community. We are the shoulders upon which the next generation of Black men will have to stand, as imperfect as we are. And we desire a more cooperative, accountable woman. Some of us believe that has died out with the last couple generations, but many of us remain hopeful. We really do. The beauty of a Black man's existence is not only his ability to conquer, but his capacity to endure. The real resiliency, the way we rise every time we fall, to smile when we are hurting, to give when we have little, to be magicians. We have been gifted with the ability to carry burdens and stand tall. We have been given the ability to create things out of nothing. Our journey as men is not one of solidarity at times. We share our experiences, our joys, our pains, our victories, our losses with each other sometimes. Black men, as often as it may not seem, we are a community. We are a brotherhood, a testament of survival against all odds. Being a Black man in this world may seem like a lonely existence, but it's filled with a profound sense of purpose and undeniable strength. Black men are unfucking deniable. We navigate through a world that often takes more from us than it gives, yet because we are magicians, the original magicians, we emerge, most of us emerge as men of valor and character and of dignity, and through our contributions, and though our contributions may be ignored, the impact we make remains undeniable and not extinguishable. For every overlooked act of kindness, for every misrepresented effort, know that you as a Black man matter. You are seen. Your work is seen. Your work is valued. And most importantly, like Antoine alluded to, you're not alone in this. Life as a Black man may be a journey filled with trials and tribulations, but it's a journey of triumphs and journeys of resiliency. It's a journey that shapes us into being more than what we thought we could be. It's a journey that makes us extraordinary because we are dreamers and we are inspirational and we come from a legacy of dreamers and inspirational men and women. It's who we are. Our public image, Lord, our public image is intrinsically woven into the fabric of our collective identity. We must tread carefully when deciding who we elevate to the grand stage amongst us for public discourse. And our image, if you will, the vast is a vast theater with an audience full of millions. Every spoken word on a stage and on a platform reverberates, and it's magnified, especially if you are an articulate man who is charismatic and who has a microphone, and those who people are who are willing to listen. And those of you men out here that will step into that role, be careful what you do when you're given the microphone. Remember whose voice will echo in the minds and hearts of the people who are listening. To grant someone a platform is not merely to amplify a voice. It's an endorsement. It's a tacit agreement that words spoken out of this particular individual or individuals have value, and that they're worth listening to. And while freedom of speech is a pillar of our democracy, not all speech or actions can uplift. Some words and actions may harm, mislead, and perpetuate a narrative. When a voice or action that tarnishes our collective image is amplified, that damage isn't just on the person or persons who committed the infractions, nor is it just oftentimes immediate, but it's on the people who elevated them, and it can be enduring. The words spoken today can be tomorrow's actions, and it could be tomorrow's memories, and it can be enduring, and eventually history, the historical record. The perceptions created by such voices can take root over time and shape the very essence of how we are seen both by ourselves and by one another. That's why there are so many things out in the manosphere that came out of the manosphere that it was brought out in a way that misled what should have been. We need a single narrative and a picture so vivid and lasting that joins all of our experiences. Okay. Now we live in a digital age, and words and actions live forever in this digital platform, on these digital platforms now. If you don't believe me, just ask Will Smith. His reputation is forever associated with one emotional outburst. Remember, I said at the beginning when I was talking about anger, most decisions made out of anger are usually bad decisions. And Will Smith, my God. A tarnished image isn't easy to rectify, as he's learning out. When the internet archives every misstep, every ill-spoken word, Black people's reputation, both individually and collective, is fragile and under constant onslaught. We got to keep that in mind. A single misplaced word or action with a vast platform can create a domino effect. If you don't believe me, just check out the Cat Williams incident interview with Shannon Sharp. We can be trapped in a feedback loop, where the negative portrayals keep getting reinforced, gaining validity merely through reputation and reputation alone. We need to be discerning, everybody, and intentional about who we amplify. We must understand that the weight of responsibility that comes with granting someone a platform, an ear. Because in the theater of public perception, every act has a consequence. Every choice has an outcome. Every voice leaves an imprint and then echoes that shape the reality. In this journey we call life, we often find ourselves at a crossroads, especially right now as Black men and Black women, in spaces that challenge our very essence and questioning our worth and diluting our spirit. I'm reminded of a powerful teaching from the Bible and from the Gospel of Matthew. And I'm not a big Bible aficionado, where Jesus told his disciples, if anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that place and shake the dust off your feet. That, my friend, is a profound call to recognize our value and refuse to remain where we are not honored. And that is including with the woman laying next to you. There's nothing innate. There's nothing innate. No, I'm not going to say that. No one should have the power to dim your light. So why then do we often find ourselves lingering in places and among people that undervalue, underestimate, and damage us, especially those of us who are dreamers? Why do we remain where we are merely tolerated instead of celebrated? That's the question that the passport bros have answered. They don't. They left. I'm talking about the real passport bros, not the vacationers. Our time, our energy, our very essence is too precious to waste in environments or with people or platforms that marginalize us or even lie on us. We are not merely figures on the canvas fading into the background. No. Black people, especially Black men, are a masterpiece belonging in a gallery. Now, speaking of time, the streetlights are a symbolic reminder that time is limited and a manifestation for us to understand, to be intentional, productive, and aware.
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the
Now, there's this motto, go where you want it, go where you're celebrated, go where you're respected. It isn't just a phrase, I'm sorry. It's a guiding principle. It's a reminder that we have an agency, in deciding where we invest our energy and how we represent ourselves. Let's not mistake familiarity with comfort. Just because we're familiar with something don't mean that we're comfort. Let's not conflate the two. Just because we've been somewhere for a long time doesn't mean it's where we belong. Just because we have been somewhere for a long time doesn't mean it's where we belong. Just because we've been trapped with a poor public image or on a merry-go-round of disappointment, remember, we come from a long line of dreamers. In every space we walk into, we create room for new opportunities, new relationships, and new growth. Now, will a new king arrive? Kevin Samuels was slowly moving the conversation and behavior towards a single message and a conversation of reconciliation between men and the men and the women. But now it seems to be back to the Hatfields and McCoys. Before I wrap up, let me make one more point. We constantly talk about the necessity of Black male leadership. We talk about how Black women should respect it and seek a Black man with a healthy dose of it. But the one thing that we don't talk about enough is that Black men need leaders too. Kevin Samuels understood this deeply and intimately. And when he would address Black men's issues, he never forgot to take a moment to hit hard on the need for Black men to find mentorship, coaching, or whatever, because the overwhelming majority of Black men did not have the tools in the home. It's no fault of his own. And ladies, don't hit your man over the head with this. He already knows this. And don't use this as another thing to, our women go out of their way to try to find phrases, terms, or examples to try to checkmate their guy. Why do you want to do that to him? Oh, that's right, because you're on the side of the machine. That's why. Kevin would often state that, unfortunately, because so many of us didn't receive that growing up, that at now our old adult age, we're going to have to pay for it. He talked candidly about getting a second job and taking that money and investing that in yourself for coaching, mentorship, or whatever it is to improve who you are. He made it okay for Black men to stop being ashamed of the fact that our manhood is severely underdeveloped in a lot of ways, and it's no shame in going out and paying for someone to help fill in the gaps. In fact, he felt it was a necessary step in the evolution of your manhood. I have an announcement to make. And here it is. The street lights are on.
Yeah, this is what I'm made of. This is for the throne and the kingdom. The king's here, yelling freedom. Do or die, do it now if you believe it. You reap what you sow every season. Yeah, you kill what you eat when you feasting. Yeah, it's death before the sign and no treason. No, in a time of war, no retreat. Never lay down and die on my feet. I look the reaper in his eyes and won't blink. I'm the voice every time that I speak. It's like thunder when it strikes. I'm the king. I'm the king. I am supreme. I am. I am. I am the king. I am supreme. I am. I'm the king. You gotta keep going when you in the field. Yeah. Can't lose heart when it gets real. Yeah. Always push back, can't lose ground. Always stand up, never back down.